Hello, all, and welcome back to another episode of TV and Us, a conversation show about the TV series we just can't stop talking about. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
And each season, we focus on a different show, reviewing it episode by episode, and we invite you to watch along with us. Right now, we are reviewing Succession Season 4, and today we are on Episode 6, titled Living Plus. If you haven't watched it yet, this is your spoiler alert. Please check it out before continuing to listen. All right, Sarah, doing to kick us off with a short summary for Succession, Episode 6.
Ahead of Investor Day, Shiv weighs a proposal from Matsson, while Kendall and Roman each try to match Logan's volatile leadership style.
Oh, yes, they do. They really do.
Yeah, they try their best.
They're going for it. All right, let's start off with our episode titles of choice. What was yours?
Mine is Hardly Scratched the Surface.
Oh, nice. In reference to Shiv's comment towards Tom.
Mm-hmm. But it also works on multiple levels because we're just scratching the surface of Roman and Kendall's reign.
All of these people. I know. I keep waiting and getting excited for like big dramatic things to happen, and in a way they do.
Yes.
But in another way I'm like, where is this going? Like which trajectory are we heading? I can't guess. So that's exciting and thrilling.
Yeah. But
also we need the episodes to be released faster because the curiosity is killing me. Okay, yes. My episode title of choice is Cool New Rule.
Yes. Well done.
Oh, it's so great. Kendall is living his best life, apparently. We're worried for him out here, but he's feeling great.
He's really enjoying the dictatorship of Kendall. He's having a great time.
Yeah, he's on the power trip. Okay. Yeah. So I would say this is a pretty meaty episode. Let's dive in. Let's talk about what stood out to us and kind of our thoughts about Episode 6. We are officially, I would say, in the second half of this season, which feels significant. And I would expect that I would have had more of an idea where this is going. But because Succession is just such great writing, this could go so many directions. So tell me your thoughts about Episode 6.
Oh, man. I mean, do you just want to take it kid by kid? Like,
let's do that. Yeah.
Who do you want to start with?
Although poor Connor is absent.
It's a great one to start with. Maybe we'll see Connor in the next episode.
Yeah, he's a short one. Maybe we'll see more of him. I do think so. I think that there's more.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Him and Willa. I hope there's some good things cooking for them.
It almost feels like the things that we're not seeing in these episodes, they're just waiting and and holding back to unleash in the next 3 episodes as the season wraps up. So yeah, or I guess 4 episodes of this season. So yeah, no Connor in this, but I doubt I'm confident there's more of him.
Yeah, I'm excited. What do we want to see next? Connor and Willa is one of the things that I want to see, and then the others that we haven't seen, like Carrie. I'm still so curious what they're going to do with her, and if we're maybe going to see Marcia again. You know, like all of these characters that we didn't see in this episode. I am just so curious if they're going to bring them back, and then in what capacity they're going to bring them back.
Yeah, that's a good point, which is that there's these important side characters that the beginning of the season have clearly set up for something that are so absent from this. And it feels like they're building tension for when they'll come back again.
Yeah, because I don't, especially with Carrie and how they were building her up, like when they bring her back, it's going to be explosive. And I think the way to make it even more explosive would be to bring her back somehow in the orbit of Marcia. So I don't know. I feel like that's a good opportunity for more dramatic tension and explosiveness.
Dynamics, yeah.
I don't know if they'll go there, but seems like a really good little setup.
And I think that's what's genius about the show's writing is that it gives us the feeling that so much is significant. And the show's writers have the choices to capitalize on that or not. And if they don't, we're fine with that too. You know what I mean? Like there's these really juicy moments that happen between them, but even if they don't like they're not paid off because they go in a different direction, them in and of itself, like the setup alone feels significant enough that even if
Mhm.
there isn't that payoff, it doesn't feel like we're let down. It just feels congruent with, okay, there's these characters, but there were more important things for us to go explore. Um, and it was just a smaller point that the show was trying to make around like the power dynamics between like being the other woman and all this kind of stuff. Like that in and of itself could have been the point of that scene. And if it is, I'm pretty satisfied. And if they choose to capitalize it, that's even more exciting too. So I think, there's sometimes when we watch, especially in movies as well, like there's such an intentional like setup moment that we know feels like a setup. And what's kind of exciting about the show is that there are these moments that could be setups and maybe they're not. And even if they're not, they still kind of work. And that's pretty thrilling.
Mhm. Yeah, you never know.
Never know. Hmm.
So
Okay,
funny.
so let's go by the rest of the kids.
Okay, do you wanna talk about your guy?
My dude, I think we are officially in the fall of Roman.
We sure are. Poor buddy. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. But even within this episode, okay, this is why the show is great, okay? Let's just gush about the show even more because we haven't done that enough already, apparently, this season of TVNS, which is that you think this episode's going a direction, which is that we're going to see the decline, the fall of Kendall as he falters and makes a fool of himself. And we
Mhm.
don't, which we'll talk about
Yep.
Kendall in a second. And we think that Roman is smart enough and wise enough to have the intuition to see the opportunity and alignment potentially with taking some of the advice and guidance from Shiv, and he has a judgment that he's reliant on to not go through and be part of this train wreck that Kendall is going to orchestrate. And it was a moment, 2/3 of the episode where I'm like, you know, it seems like we're seeing the fall of Roman, but perhaps not because he has this judgment call that he's making where he's like, I'm going to hold back from this battle because I see that this is a falling uh, star and I'm not going to be a part of it and I'm going to play the longer game. And, it's that moment in the car ride where he's replaying that clip again and again and
Yeah.
again
Oh.
from Kendall with the deep fake of his father. That just drives home the point of who Kendall is as a character that we've seen throughout the rest of the show as well, which is that his biggest insecurity is that he will never have the audacity to be as brazen and obnoxious and gutsy as Kendall is, and that he desires to be like that, but he ultimately knows that he fears the cowardness in and of himself. And so even in a moment where he actually makes a smart decision and relies on his judgment and his intuition to be like, let me not be on stage for this embarrassing moment with my brother, he then sees that in himself as cowardice, which I'm like, no, Kendall was going down a wrong path. The show's genius in that somehow it kind of works for him, where he makes
Mhm.
this like big ballsy play, but it kind of somehow works and he takes a big risk and whatnot. But I do think that Roman made the good choice, the sound choice. It's just such a shame that he sees it as his own cowardice. But I think it's so fitting for who he is as a character and what we know about him and what he desires and what he fears from the rest of the season. And it's so in line. It confirms his biggest fear about himself.
And I love how that conversation with Kendall, like Roman is trying to figure out a way to talk his brother out of doing this, out of jumping off
Yes.
of this cliff, and you just see him like shrink into himself
Yeah.
over the course of that conversation. The more that he's talking, the more he just
He backs
loses.
down. Yeah.
Yeah. It
He's
was it
afraid of the
was
confrontation.
yes, it was so brilliant the way that it was written, but also the way that it was acted. Like,
Mhm.
you so much was communicated in that one little, really, it was a monologue, um, from Roman, and you learned so much about this character. I feel like it was such a roller coaster of an episode for Roman, and
Mhm.
in like the really pivotal moments, like when he fires Joy, when he fires Jerry,
Oh,
and then that
jeez.
conversation with Kendall, like you just see him start the conversation one way, and then the more that he talks, he just completely like shifts into something else. And so it's just so fascinating. This guy who doesn't know who he is, he doesn't know his strengths, he doesn't know how to operate in this, he doesn't know, you know, to some degree even like what he believes in to stand up for something or to
Yeah.
stand up against someone. So it was just so interesting to see so many different sides of Roman as he's just kind of falling apart for a whole episode.
Mm, mhm. Mhm. And one thing that I think is genius that the show does is how much it emphasizes and aligns that part of how he reacts to a lot of these situations, and the fact that he's kind of grasping for some sense of what he wants or what he believes in is how much he also has not processed his father's death.
Oh, yes.
And I think those two things are aligned because his fear of facing this difficult thing that he's experienced in his life, losing a pivotal family member that is important to him, that like disconnect from reality is also the same thing that's fueling his disconnect from his own desires, his own ability to see himself clearly, to see his own strengths clearly, and also his flaws clearly that he can then wield and navigate properly. He's entirely um, disconnected from reality, both the ones that are difficult, but also the ones that are valuable for him to know and to be armed with, to be able to handle all of these situations with deft, with tact. He just he's kind of got blinders on, and you see the way that that affects all of the decisions that he makes and his ability to navigate them well. The fear to face them head on affects so much of his other um, moments and interactions as well, including dealing with the death of his father.
Well, and that's so interesting that you bring up him being disconnected from reality because we see throughout the episode that all three kids are watching a video of their dad, but Roman is the only one who's watching the deep fake version over and over and over again. The other two
Mm,
are watching the real video, and Roman is watching a fake one. And so that's even an interesting, like,
yeah,
I don't know, layer to
meta,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But and it's also to add another meta layer on top of that. It's that deepfake video is feels the truest to him because it confirms what he
Hmm.
believes to be true, like
Yeah.
deeply true about himself. Ah, it's painful. That scene is painful when he's playing that over and over again. You're like, no, Roman, do not believe it. Do not believe the lie about yourself that you are this way, like, and but it's such a tragedy. This episode is a tragedy for Roman. Both
Hmm.
his kind of
Yeah.
like prideful, brazen shows of his ego when he's like firing people left and right, like that in and of itself is a tragedy, which makes me think about previous conversations that we've had where you've shared like, I hope he doesn't lean into this idea that he needs to be like his father or play the game like his father. Like, man, he does that for the first half of this episode, but the second half where he falls from that is tragic as well. That scene where he talks to Jerry and he's like, I need you to believe that I am as good as my dad.
Hmm.
Can you do that? Can
Yeah.
you do that? It's this like desperate, like yearning for validation.
Yeah. Yeah, he's so hurt, and so he
Yeah.
turns to Jerry, who
It's
once
his
was a source
comfort.
of comfort for him,
Yeah.
and is no longer that source in his life, which again makes it all the harder to watch this kid just
Yeah.
seeking comfort, validation, encouragement, anything, and
Yeah.
he doesn't get it.
No. So he's alone in his limousine
Yeah.
with a deep fake video on repeat.
Oh, it's so sad. Oh, Roman.
But there are still 4 episodes left, so
And that's what
we shall see.
I'm thinking, because he's yeah, he's going downward, but we have 4 episodes.
Hmm.
I there
I'm
Hey Jen,
hopeful.
there might still be time for a rise of Roman.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll see.
Like, if we're gonna have a beloved character of mine be at his fall, I'm okay with
Yes.
it being episode 6,
Oh,
There's time to
absolutely.
get back up.
This is the time for it.
Yes. Okay, let's save ya girl Shiv
Oh, my
for
girl.
last.
Yes.
Let's talk about Kendall next.
Kendall,
Thoughts about Kendall.
buddy.
Very interesting episode for Kendall.
It is a very interesting
Not what
episode
I
for
expected.
Kendall. Really? Okay.
No.
What did you expect?
I was expecting him to tank,
Ah,
and
okay.
I love that he doesn't, because I think this makes it far more interesting. They're gonna drag out his fall, which I'm like, all right, yeah. Um, in contrast to Roman, one of the things that I love about Kendall, just in general, but I think we see it on full display and some semblance of success with it in this episode, is how much the man is committed to his convictions. No matter
Hmm.
if other people are kind of ridiculing it or think it's a bad idea, if he believes something is a great idea, he's going to execute on it. And I kind of love that part about him, and we see that work well for him. He's, like you mentioned in previous episode, that addict personality type of, like, he's high risk, high reward, willing to go for it, willing to win big or lose big as well. Like, we see that on full display. And I think it's fascinating that here we are in episode 6, and it kind of seems to work for him a little bit in this episode. I think that demise is waiting for him sooner or
Hmm.
later. Like,
Absolutely.
this is kind of a little twist that the show is giving us to be like, yeah, it'll work for him now, but just do wait. Um, but I think it's kind of exciting that they're going to drag that out a little bit longer. It would have been, I think, a little bit too fast of a rise and a fall as I look back on it, for him to have risen in episode 4 and for him to fall so quickly. So um, I think it'll take a little bit longer. But I was along for that emotional ride that the episode was preparing me for this to be just an absolute train wreck for him. And the diversion, I think, makes a lot of sense that we kind of take a different direction. So I kind of love that for him.
Hmm. Yeah, and I loved seeing Kendall's strengths,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know, he's his dad's son, so it's this like, oh, he's the heir apparent, he's gonna get it just because he's a kid, like that whole thing. And you see that he might not be like a brilliant business person, but he has the showmanship piece of it. And
Mm-hmm.
I love that we got to see that he was able to tap into something, and be able to sell those ideas to that crowd. Um, yeah, when the whole episode was really like setting you up to think he's going to fall flat on his face, he was actually able to pull it off. And
Mm-hmm.
I love the way that they did that.
And I think especially the way that he handles the Q&A section
Hmm.
was such a great
Yeah.
display of how, in some ways, he's different from his father, and he has strengths that his father doesn't have, because he's able to kind of empathize and bring this like human side to a dialogue about sometimes difficult topics and whatnot. Like, there's a humanity in him that is able to shine through and actually be such an asset to the way that he handles these sensitive situations and difficult conversations that really play well to the public and really can resonate well. So the way that he answered that difficult question and kind of ushered us into focusing on, like, here's a nasty comment from someone, but ultimately what we're all looking for is X, Y, and Z, and this is why this product is serving that need. Like, he was able to tactfully manage that conversation, which was surprising, but I think it's that empathy and that human side of him that was able to shine in that moment. And I think Logan would have answered that question very, very differently. So it was interesting to
Yes.
see that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so curious what they're gonna do with Kendall,
Mm-hmm.
because it's this like outward facing, he's doing really good, impressing the investors, da 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 da. Behind closed doors, he is alienating
Everyone.
everyone
Mm-hmm.
who he shouldn't be, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I think even that dynamic of outward facing and then inward facing, very different people that they're dealing with, I think that could be a
Be an
good source of
interesting.
tension and bite him in the
Mm-hmm.
butt.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, the man is unhinged.
Oh, 1,000%. Yes, he's on a
So,
power trip.
yes.
And I mean, pride comes before the fall. So he's going to fall hard when he
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. It'll be fascinating to see, yeah, what they do with him,
Yeah, it's not going to be pretty.
what that fall is going to look like. Yes. But also how it happens for him
Yeah.
and how he reacts. We've seen him in incredibly low points in the past, you know? Um, Unlike Roman, we've seen Kendall rise and fall many times in the past. I wonder what this will look like this time and how it will be different from the past falls.
Hmm. Yeah. And especially because this time, like, his dad is not there to save him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how is this fall going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that I love about what they did with Kendall this episode is that last little bit when he was on the beach and then he writes the number one in the sand
Yeah.
to harken back to his dad saying, "You're my number one boy." And
Yeah.
so, like, obviously, that whole conversation with the deep fakes of Logan and all of that, like, it was all trying to please his dad. This whole thing
Yeah.
was just to try and please his dad.
Mm-hmm.
It, it's so tragic too. Even though he's being the worst in this episode, he's being a horrible little dictator, and
But
man,
he's endearing.
it is
Yeah.
endearing.
There's something about him that's so endearing. What
Ugh.
I love about that ocean scene too is how much it calls back to the pool scene, where it's
Mhm.
a little bit ambiguous if that was intentional or accidental of him nearly drowning. And that whole scene, I was so stressed because I was like, oh, are they going in a very different direction than I expected? Um, there was something tragic about the way that, from a cinematography perspective, that was shot as well. There was something that it was like gloomy skies. It was looking ominous. We never see his face really, like we're often in profile or from behind. Um, it wasn't this moment of like peace and joy that he's finally
Mhm.
in the shining spotlight and doing
Yeah.
well. There's something tragic about it as well. So very artistic of Succession.
Mhm. And tragedy all around.
Yes.
We're doing great.
Hmm. Okay, let's move on to ya girl, Shiv.
Ugh, Shiv.
Tell me your thoughts about Shiv this
I'm
episode.
so
Lots happening
upset.
with her.
I'm so upset.
Yeah, what part about with Tom?
Tom.
I know.
Freaking Tom.
Are we surprised though?
No, I'm
We
just
were waiting
annoyed.
for this. I
I
know. You
knew it
just
was going
wanted
to
better for
happen.
her.
I do want better for her. Shiv, you are better than Tom Wamsgans.
Mm,
Okay? Do better. It's fine. I'm just so annoyed. But okay, so things that I do love. I
okay.
love just the little moments with Shiv. Her watching
Oh,
that video of her dad early on, the scheduling time for her to cry and grieve.
so good.
So good. So it's these like really little brilliant moments that are littered throughout that have nothing to do with Tom that just show that she is trying to process through just the mountain of crap that has landed on her as best she can, while also trying to maintain a brave face. So I think even in moments, I loved when we saw the siblings together, because you see um, Siobhan just like dressed up and she is professional and she has everything together, and the boys are a mess. And I loved that contrast of her being an outsider, but she is also probably the most put together and the most savvy of all of them, because she's had to be as a woman in a male dominated field. She's had to do better and perform better, and somehow she is still constantly screwed over by her brothers. And so I love the way that this episode is really highlighting the fact that she wants to trust her brothers, but she can't. And so she is just figuring out what to do about that, in addition to literally everything else that she's having to process through. And I loved how we saw so much of her in this episode, and just got to see so much into her mind and what is happening inside of her, because it's a lot going on.
Yeah, we're really getting to see her navigate this situation where she's clearly having to outsmart and fight for a spot to be in contention, to be on the game board. Um, in a lot of ways, she's playing this whole deal with Matson because, as Tom says, like she needs to keep her options open. You know what I mean? Like, and out of the dynamics and the gender politics of corporate America and all that kind of stuff, she's had to be smarter, you know? Like, and we get to see the way that she is able to navigate a lot of these situations. She's intuitive in a lot of ways that her brothers clearly are not at all. Like, there's a tactfulness and a skillfulness that she has that is just thrilling to watch. You see her observing moments and interactions between the brothers or things that they're saying, and she's able to see so clearly through the BS, which is very Logan of her. But a lot of it's out of just like pure survival, of figuring out how to like position herself on this game board to give herself the most possible, the most number of possible paths forward. And i'm I'm most excited to see what the show chooses to do with Shiv next, because
Mm-hmm.
she's like a cat stalking through the bushes, but hasn't made like a clear, definitive move in a direction yet. She's well positioned to keep many paths forward open. But I'm so curious to see which directions she'll go in and how she'll navigate the next few episodes. So I'm most excited to see what moves she's making, um, because it's a little bit clear what Roman and what Kendall want. They've
Mm-hmm.
stated it very clearly. They've made moves in that direction. They've made it quite obvious. But Shiv, she's kind of playing for the right time to make a move, and I'm so curious when that time will come and what move she'll make.
Oh, me too. I'm ready. I am excited. Like, come
She's
on,
just
Shiv.
watching and observing. Yes, yeah. The other thing that I love is that she just seeing the dynamics between her and Matson. Um,
Yeah.
they need each other in a lot of ways, but I think it's just fun to see their dynamic on screen and how she takes no BS from him and will put him in his place. Just it's like you mentioned, as a woman, there's a power dynamic that she is able to maintain control over through just her pure savviness and wittiness that I think is like really fascinating to see. There's like immediate respect for her quick-wittedness, that she's able to kind of like wield that dominance even without necessarily making like a tactical move yet, just like in the conversations together, she's able to maintain her control and to maintain her ground. And it's really fascinating to see that dynamic unfold as well. So I love those scenes between the two of them. They're both clearly just like absolute monsters and are able to just outsmart each other at in any possible moment. But to see that like back and forth play between them, I think is really fun between these two very intelligent humans.
Yes, I want so much more of that.
Yeah.
Because it's so fun, and it feels like, I don't know, it's satisfying to see another character on Shiv's level. Like,
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, obviously Kendall and Roman are out here making moves, but I don't know, it's so different how they operate, and they all have different strengths, but it's fun to see somebody really be able to match wits with Shiv in the way that Mattson is able to.
Yep.
They're such a good pair.
Yeah. And you can see the way that that's satisfying for themselves as individuals as well. They
Yes.
both get a dopamine hit through that as well, to realize that there's someone that is on their level that can match them. And they're kind of both playing this game with each other, and it's thrilling and fun for both of them as much as it is about the business and the deal and whatnot and getting information. But beyond that, there's like a playfulness and a juiciness to it that I think the show is really great at articulating.
Hmm. Good things coming with
Yeah,
hopefully Shiv and Mattson.
I'm intrigued to see how that unfolds. There's a lot
Hmm.
there. That's still, yet again, I think that there's more that's going to happen in
Yes.
every episode.
Yeah.
And I leave the episode being like, I learned some stuff, but not as much as I thought I would. Like, I wanted more, but okay, we'll keep going. We're apparently on episode 6 now. We're going to
Yeah.
be on episode 9. I'm going to be still asking the same things, I think.
Yes. Because so much happens, but it's not in the way that you think it's going to happen.
Mhm. Yeah. It's like you're running through a forest and you think that you reach a clearing where you're like, oh, okay, now I'll know how far I need to go and what the path forward is. And that's the mountain range I need to get to. But you reach a clearing and then you're like, oh, okay, so there's more road to go, but I don't know which direction. So I guess we'll keep running till the next clearing. Okay. And eventually at some point we'll just like run smack dab face into the mountain. And that will be the end of the season.
That is where the show is going. We are
Right.
going to ram our faces into a mountain.
Yes. To the
That's the
side of a cliff. And you're
only
like, okay,
logical
here
conclusion
we
of
go.
Succession.
Yeah. And it won't be after a clearing, it'll be like in the middle of the path.
Absolutely. Has to.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's going to hit us like a ton of bricks. It's going to be great.
And it'll be a camouflaged cliff that
Excellent.
looks like another set of trees in the path.
Yes.
Just very
Absolutely.
well artfully painted cliff. And we will ram our noses into it. It'll be great.
Hmm.
It'll be a lot of fun. I'm
Yeah, man.
excited to get my
In,
face smacked by a
in
cliff.
4 episodes, we're going to
Yes.
run into a camouflaged cliff.
Yes, precisely.
Let's look forward to. I'm excited.
Okay, any other thoughts about this episode before we go into the TVNS awards section?
Okay, so this is a thought that I've had a few times so far this season, but I don't know that
Oh,
we've talked about
okay.
it. But
Please share.
the score.
I was gonna bring up the score too. Wonderful. The
The
score does something very special this episode.
Oh my gosh, the way, and it's done that all throughout, but the way that it,
Mm-hmm.
it introduces the main theme and like variations of the main theme all
Yeah.
throughout is just so masterful. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, it's utterly brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. The way and like the volume and the tempo of the score
Yes.
based on what moment we're in is very curated. But I think I noticed it most, especially in this episode, with how windy and twisty the score's theme is. thematically just feels fitting for this episode where everyone seems to be unhinged, entirely unhinged. There's like a frenetic energy and a desperation that seems to underlie a lot of the characters of the scene. Even Greg is unhinged in this episode and is
Mm-hmm.
feeling like anxiety induced by the pressures that he faces. And I feel like you see that in a lot of characters where they are feeling pressure and they're behaving in weird, twisted ways. And the score really reflects that. They're making erratic decisions. And musically, we get to hear all of that as well.
It's so great.
So good.
There were multiple times in this episode where I was like, oh yes, like
Yep.
it's just perfect, and it helps, like you said, like the music helps transport you into this world and into what the characters are
Mhm.
feeling. And
Yes.
music is
Yes.
such an important component of this, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that they are so intentional with the score, as intentional as they are with everything else.
Yes. That's so true. It transports us into the psyches of these characters. Yes.
Hmm.
So good.
Yes.
Okay. TBNS Awards. Ready, rock and roll?
Ready.
Okay. The first one, best insult. Fire away. What was your choice?
My choice is truth bombs from the phony man. Shiv to Tom.
There's a lot of good ones between them. That was a very good one.
Hmm.
They are, yeah. There's so much to that relationship that I think we still have yet to see too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're cutting into each other.
Hmm. Yeah. I would say Shiv is doing more cutting,
Unleashed.
but Tom is trying.
He's he's trying
He's trying his best.
to keep
Participation
up.
trophy.
Yes. My choice is from my man Roman. If I cringe any harder, I might become a fossil. I
Oh,
love
it's
it.
so
So
good.
endearing. Okay, who won the episode? What's your choice?
I really struggled to pick a winner for this
Hmm.
episode. To me, there were a lot of losers. But I
Yeah.
think my winner is going to be kind of an unconventional pick.
Oh.
And I am choosing Frank for barely being in the episode. He is the only one of the old guard who didn't piss off a sibling, and he flew under the radar and lived
Yes.
to fight another day.
I
And
love
so,
that.
way to go, Frank.
I want to see more of Frank.
Me too.
I hope that there's more of a story arc for him.
Oh, I'm
He's so
sure there will.
positioned. He's so
Yes.
well positioned.
Yeah.
My choice is Shiv. Not
Nice.
necessarily for her choices in this episode, but I think because she's well positioned to
Mm,
go many directions and she hasn't quite pledged her allegiance to any faction yet. She's keeping her options
mhm.
open, and I think that's very fascinating and smart. So she's waiting and observing and watching, and I
I
love it.
love it. Yes, that's a great pick.
Mm-hmm.
Go shit. We believe in you, girl. You got this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, best power move. I'm curious your choice for
uh,
this one.
my choice is Carl threatening Kendall to change his speech.
Yes. Well, and they're doing this like ego puffing,
Yeah.
chest puffing thing with each other where Kendall's like CEO, CFO. And Carl's like, oh, hell no, buddy. Child.
Yeah.
I took enough bullshit from her father. That was great. That was a great scene. We see some spice from Carl. Look
Me
at
too.
him.
And I also love that that comes on the heels of Roman's
Mm-hmm.
conversation with Kendall.
Mm-hmm.
And Roman wanted Kendall to do the exact same thing that Carl gets him to do.
Yep.
But Carl just knows how to do it.
Yeah.
So it was so satisfying.
They're doing the like ego puffing thing with each other. And it's effective.
It is
Somewhat.
effective, and the reason why I couldn't pick Carl as the winner for the episode is I think Carl won the moment, but he's gonna
Lose the battle.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's gonna win the battle but lose the war.
Which is why you chose Frank.
Yes, which is why I chose Frank because he's under the radar. He didn't rock the boat, live
Yeah.
to fight another day. So,
He too has many paths forward.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yes.
he sure does.
Yeah. My choice for best power move is slightly unconventional, but it's Kendall sticking to his convictions. You know,
Nice.
I have so much respect for him for that. Even if can be a fool.
Yes. Even
At
if
least
the
he's a passionate fool, you know? Like at least he has some convictions and morals and he will choose to stand by his beliefs.
Mhm.
I can respect it.
Yeah, absolutely. He might be going down, but he is doing it with his
With
whole heart.
passion.
Yeah.
He genuinely believes having a house built on stage
Oh
is a
my
great idea.
god.
And you know what? Here's the moment where I really respected him. When the clouds did not fit his vision, he was like, "Oh no, we must scrap this. This is not what I envisioned for the clouds." A very important detail of this entire endeavor. So scrap it all. I love
Honestly,
it. He
I
knows what he
was
wants.
just impressed that they didn't come up with like fake like styrofoam cutout clouds or whatever that you'd see in like a third grade
Well,
play.
that's what he wanted, I think. I think that's what he was envisioning.
That's fully what I expected to be hanging from the ceiling.
Me too. I think that's what Kendall wanted.
That would have been
They did
hilarious.
something far more artistic.
Yes.
But he was like, "No, these are not the clouds. What have you done?" I loved that whole scene.
Also, their version of the clouds were so ominous. Like, I really
Yeah.
wanted that to be his presentation because it would just be like, here, death has arrived on the stage. Like,
Yes.
but they didn't. They went a much more conventional route, which is great.
Yes. Okay, what are you looking for as we look ahead?
So we already discussed Connor and Willa. I want to
Mm.
see if Marcia and Carrie come back again, and I still want to see Shiv just burn the whole thing down. But I think in addition to that, I want to see Matson just blow everything up.
Mm-hmm.
And with
An
Shiv's
agent of
assistance,
chaos.
I want them to actually team up, and I want Matson to beat Roman and Kendall. Is where I ended up at the end of this episode, which is not where I expected to be. But I think watching the boys try to be Logan made me go, nope, you can't handle this. I want Matson to get it all.
I'm just tickled by the fact that we end every episode with you being like, one of these characters needs to just blow it all up.
Yes, blow it all
Be an
up.
agent of chaos. Get
Yes,
it all out of there.
yes, this is what I
Mm.
want. It's they can't have all
No,
of the companies. They can't have all of the things. They've
it'll be
proven
pieces.
that they
Yeah.
can't have it. So either we need to divide this crap up and some get certain pieces of it, or the whole thing needs to go to hell and they all just need to go do their own things.
I do think that we're set up for that because there's such a desire from the boys to keep it together,
Yes.
you know, and they're not going to get what they want.
Yes.
So it seems that we are set up for many pieces to be rattling to the floor
Yes.
as we scramble for them. I am waiting to see some more power moves from the outsiders. Actually,
Yes.
I shouldn't call them the outsiders. What are we calling them now? The suits?
Oh, that
The
works. Or the
C-suite?
old guard
The
or
old guard? Yes.
I don't know.
We got a little taste of it with some spice from Jerry, some spice from Carl.
Mhm.
I want to see them make some moves.
Yeah.
I wonder if we'll get it, but I am hopeful.
Yeah,
They might not go there.
they might not, but I do wonder if the show is gearing up for that because now they've seen how erratic both Kendall and Roman are,
Mm-hmm.
and if
And use it against
there's
them.
enough grumblings between them, those two confrontations that we had, maybe they are gearing up for something. I don't know.
this is a show where every moment feels significant,
Yes.
and my brain is like, why would we include those moments in here if it
Mhm.
wasn't going to pay like lead to something later?
Yeah.
Like every moment, every minute of every plot choice is so carefully crafted and intentionally chosen that it's got to
Mhm.
be leading towards something. Or the alternative is that if it doesn't lead to something, that in of itself is making some larger point that the show is trying to make about dynamics between humans, about human nature, all that kind of stuff, right? So I'm hopeful. I would love to see some power moves from the outsiders. The other thing I would love to see, which I know you're gonna hate, is I want to see Tom outsmart Shiv, or at least be far more cunning than she gives him credit for. I
Mhm.
would love to see that. I think so much of the show has painted Tom to be just kind of a leech. He's opportunistic. He um, is latching on to people that he sees as advantageous to him, and he's played to be a fool in a lot of ways. But there's these moments of conviction that I see in him, and I'm intrigued to see if they do anything with it. And I think Shiv is portrayed to be this character that, like, one of her flaws is that she is incredibly confident and sometimes can be overconfident, overestimate uh her own abilities. And I would love to see just her be surprised at Tom's craftiness. I think that would be fun to see.
That would be fun to see. I would also be very surprised because I think Tom is an absolute moron. So that would be fun.
Right? But like if all along he knows what he's doing, he's gonna make some at least that he has the willing like he has
Mm,
the guts in him to
yeah.
do something that is unexpected. That Shiv thinks that she's got him all wrapped up around her finger. But little does she know Tom's got a little bit more spice to him than she expects.
Honestly, that would make me respect Tom just a little bit more because I have no respect for him now. He is the literal worst. So let's do something
Dude, I love
interesting,
how much
buddy.
you hate Tom. I've got a little soft spot for him. Maybe I just love Matthew McFadden too.
Oh,
Like
yeah, he's
immediately
great.
is endearing
Yeah. I don't like that he's a leech and an idiot.
and slimy.
And so slimy. Like, Shiv is so distraught in this episode. She's clearly been crying. And so he comes over and, like,
Yeah,
manipulates her
he
and takes
does.
advantage of her grief. Gross. I don't like Tom.
Ah,
But that would be fun if he makes some moves. Come on, Tom. Go for it, buddy.
yeah. There's just such a power dynamic between them right now, and it'd be fun to see it flipped.
Mhm. We will see what they
We
do.
shall indeed.
Mm.
Okay, any other last thoughts about episode 6 before we wrap?
Can we also I meant to say this earlier, but the audible gasp that I let out when this episode started with Logan's face on the screen.
I know.
I
It's genius.
was so blown away and like, oh, so brilliant because then I am surprised and also like weirdly going like, "Oh my gosh, I kind of missed
I
Logan."
miss him.
In a
Yes.
weird way. So like
Yep.
then I'm feeling a little bit of what the kids are feeling. And so then when you see them watching the videos, then you're feeling even more empathy with them. Like, oh,
Yeah.
brilliant. So good.
Yeah. It also emphasizes how much of a like crater he's left.
Yes.
Like we've had 2, 3 episodes without him, and so it feels like this new normal. But the minute you see him, you're like, yes, his presence and the was so pivotal to the dynamics between all of these people, and it still is. Like the number of times that they're talking about like, well, this is what dad would have done, and I miss you, dad, and thank you, dad, from Kendall's speeches. Like it once again is a reminder of his presence. Like if in case we might have forgotten and thought this was the new normal for these people in this community, Like, that was such a smart way to like usher that back in again. And also, I think to get us to empathize with things like Shiv's continuing to grieve and all that kind of stuff, and
Mhm.
Kendall's continuing like homages to his father. Like, it kind of helps us empathize with the characters as well, like you mentioned.
So good.
But he's a dynamite presence on screen.
Oh
Yeah,
my
he's very much
gosh.
missed.
Yes. Like, oh my, like you just see him and you're like, okay, I'm sucked in. Like you don't even need
Mm-hmm.
to say words. I just see your face and I'm like, yes, I am in this world. I am
Yep.
captivated. It's amazing.
Dude, that's smart. Smart writing. All right. Well, this is our review and discussion of episode 6. You can find it available on HBO Max. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of TV and Us. Our name sums it up. We're big fans of TV and the powerful ways we can connect with each other and the world around us. This podcast is about all of us and our shared stories. Everyone is welcome here, and we're so glad that you hung out with us today as we continue our journey through Succession Season 4. You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you tune into your favorite shows. Drop us a review letting us know your thoughts about episode 6. You can connect with us on Instagram and Twitter at tvnspod, or email us at tvnspod@gmail.com. We will be back to discuss episode 7 very soon. We hope you have an amazing week, and we'll talk again soon.